Hello everybody and welcome back to another CB Show Tunes tutorial. Now today what we're going to be covering is how to develop a village inside of Unity. Now this tutorial is going to be a very simple tutorial on creating the terrain, texturing the terrain, and of course just adding simple buildings across the level. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing that you want to do is come over to your hierarchy and create a 3D object called terrain. Very simple to do, and once you get used to finding it, then it's all great. Okay, so as you can see, we have this sitting here, and we want to set up the settings to where it's a very small level. We don't want it too small because we don't want to see the borders, but we want it small enough to where we can actually work with it. So head over to the settings tab once you have your terrain selected, and you're going to roll down to where it sits there and says, I believe, if I can find it, right. Oh, right here. That took me a while. Okay. So underneath resolutions, you're going to change this from 500 to 100 by 100. As you can see, that changed it significantly right there. And we're going to change the terrain height to 300. So think of this as a 100 by 100 square dot. So all these squares. So let me see if I can count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So yeah, each one of these squares is equal to 10 units, and then each one of these units is equal to 10. So yeah. Okay, now since we got that, we're going to adjust the position because this is not inside the center of the screen actually. So we're going to put the position on the X by a -50, and we're going to position on the Z by a -50. And that'll put us inside the center of the scene, which is called the 0 axis. Okay. So now we're going to texture this terrain so it actually looks like it is, how would I put it, just so we can actually see what we're doing. Because if it's this gray texture and all, we're going to be trying to figure out where we are, how everything's doing, and yeah, it's just too much. So we're going to go ahead and change this texture. If you don't got a texture and all, you just need to simply download a PNG file for your texture. Just make sure that it is free or whatnot. Now you can easily get it off the Unity Asset Store as well. It's up to you really. Okay, so I'm going to choose some form of grass-like color. Um, this one looks pretty nice. We could always adjust it later on. So let's go ahead and press Add, go over to the game, and take a look through our camera. Now that looks nice, but it's a little bit big. So let's try changing this down to 1 by 1. Okay, that's all right. Let's go ahead and check out a couple other textures. That one looks pretty good. And not so much. It's too generic. Ooh, that one looks nice. But we don't want that for the entire village, so we'll go with this one. Next, we're also going to adjust the size. I think that this one needs a little bit higher resolution. 3 by 3 looks pretty good, so we're going to hit apply. Now, if you wanted to have like a rough patch on this, then you'd have to select a normal map for it. So say for instance you select these right here. You could experiment, figure out which one you like better. I actually think that one looks pretty good, so we're going to go with that one. And we'll hit apply. Okay, so now since we got our grass set up, we're going to go ahead and, well, set up our barriers. So our village is going to be inside the center, obviously. We're going to need a path in and a path out. If this is going to be just a one-sided entrance village, then in that case, we're going to surround the entire area except one side. So let's go and put up some barriers. So we're going to create a 3D object, make a cube. We're going to reset the position back to 0. We're going to raise up the Y on the scale by like 5 so we can see where it is. And we're going to scale this by 100 on the X because this is 100 resolutions squared. And we're not going to rename it because we're going to be moving it and putting it underneath its own group. So we're going to just leave it as is for now. So I'm going to go into top view orthographic, and let's go ahead and just leave us a little bit of room to see. So we're going to put this at a -30. Go and copy this and put it at 30. I know it's a lot of work to do this, but in the end you'll get some pretty good results and it'll be great. Okay, so as you can see, we're just simply changing around the Y and X axis. 0 actually on the Z and 30 on the Y. Now you don't have to worry about these excess lines like you would if there was like a wall, mainly because we're not going to actually be seeing these. We're going to cover them up. So let's go and hold down Shift, and actually before we hold down Shift, we're going to just create an empty, reset that, and we're going to just call that barrier. And then just drag all those cubes into the barrier, and we'll leave them visible for now because we want to see them. That way we can know where we're working with. And we also want to figure out where the entrance is as well. So let's go ahead and create underneath barrier one more cube. Go ahead and put 5, and on the x-axis we're actually going to scale it by 5, I think, and on the z-axis we'll scale by 5, and we're going to put entrance. So basically we're just blocking out where we want this to be. So we'll put a -30. This is going to be the entrance and the exit, so we know not to cover up that spot too badly. Okay, so back to the terrain editing. So to start off with, we're going to simply use the raise and lower tool. We're going to set this up to a specific height. So go over to the second tab on the terrain, select the biggest brush size, and change the brush size up to maximum, opacity up to maximum, and height up to 10. And what we're going to do is we're going to flatten this out. So we're going to hit flatten, then go to the Y position and go -10. Now the reason why we did this is because you cannot dig into the ground that's not raised. So Unity's starting position, which is at 0, means that you can't dig any lower than 0. That's the sea level. So what we did was we raised this up to 10, so that way we could go and dig lower, which is pretty cool. So given a demonstration right here, as you can see, we can now dig lower all the way down to 10. All right, so let's go ahead and get into building our mountains. So change the opacity down to 2. The higher the opacity is, the more it's going to be picking up. We really don't want it to pick up too badly starting off. We just want to rough it out. So let's go ahead and raise it up. Give ourselves just a little bit of something so we can see what's going on, see what we like, see what we don't like. So yeah. Okay. Now keep in mind the roughing out stage is just getting the ideal of what you want. And what we are having here is just having just a little bit of a lift around the walls. So we know that this is the area we don't want them crossing. And then we can add a little bit more later on. Okay. So the center we want to keep pretty flat, mainly because it is going to be a village. So just keep that in mind whenever you're building this village. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to change the opacity up to like 10. Now keep in mind whenever you are raising these up, you want them to be at gradual stages so you know what's going on. Otherwise it's going to turn out really crappy and it just won't look good. Okay, so as you can see, we're just raising this up on the outskirts. We're going to smooth these out eventually, but for now, we're just going to do that right there. Now, if you notice, we left this entrance open, and that's because that's our entrance. Okay, let's go and just raise that up. And what we're doing here is we're just making a gradual rise. We don't want it to rise too rapidly because then it doesn't look natural. You want to leave some low points, you want to leave some high points, because that's how reality is. Okay, we'll raise that up. Raise that up. Okay, that looks pretty decent. And you could always just inspect your work as well, see what you like, what you don't like. So yeah. And remember, experiment with every single one of these tools. There's some pretty nice ones that are there. I actually never used the star tool before. It actually looks really, really cool. Okay. So once you got the basic shape, we're going to smooth all these rough edges out because we don't want them to interfere with our design. And I think we'll add like a star shape just for the heck of it. Okay, that looks pretty good. We could raise that up just a little bit more, but okay. So now since we got that done, we're going to head over here to the smoothing tab. Now the smoothing tab is the third tab on the terrain editor, and it allows us to smooth out the rough edges on our scene. Now we're going to change the opacity down to about 5, mainly because we don't want it to smooth too badly. We still want a little bit of it to be rough. And then you're just going to run over the entire area. Now it's not going to change immediately when you're holding down, but when you let go, it's going to change it. Also keep in mind that some of the rough edges you do want to keep because that is realistic, but whenever you're getting near the player and all, you want to actually smooth those out really well. So say for instance near this entrance, we want that really smooth. We don't want it to be too bad there. Now we're going to change up the opacity to about 15, and we're going to really smooth out this area right here. We don't want the player to be like, yeah, you know. Also get around that inner edge. Sort of like ice on a cake, I guess you could call it. Okay, that looks really, really good. Now since we got that, we're going to go ahead and start painting again. So let's head over to the paint tab. Go over to edit texture, add texture, and we're going to find like some form of rock texture, hopefully. This one looks good for now, so we're going to go with that. And we're going to go with a 2x2. I'm not sure if that's actually a good idea yet, but we'll see. We'll choose that one for now. Hit add. Now to select the texture, simply select it. Otherwise, you're going to be on the first texture. And we'll keep the opacity as is. Target strength at 1. Depending on if you're using a touchpad or if you're actually using your mouse, it depends on target strength. So if you're using a touchpad, lower that down to target strength. If you're using a mouse, it won't matter what you have your target strength at, really. Okay, so we're going to go add in our rock texture over our cliffside. Now we're going to be recovering this with grass, so don't worry about if it looks nasty or disgusting right now. It's not too big of an issue. And go a little soft around the edges where you're going to be leaving. So let's go down here. Okay. All right. Go ahead and change the opacity down to 5 again. And then, okay, 5's way too much. We're going to change the opacity down to 2. And then you're just going to rough out over the area that you just covered, trying to cover up all the really bad areas. And keep in mind, you could always go right back over it and fix it up again. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add a new texture. So we're going to edit, add texture, select, and we're going to find another type of rock. Let's go with this one right here. This one looked really good. So we're going to go by one, select texture, or normal, I mean, and let's do like this normal, and hit add. Go ahead and select that, put it at about 1. And we're just going to run over this. I think it's doing it. Okay. Let me go ahead and change it back up to 2. It might be that it's just way too soft. Oh, it is doing it. It's just doing it very slowly. So yeah, just think of yourself as that art class. It's just simply painting your area. And it's alright if you can't see certain things. If you need to, just simply add a light inside there and make it like a point light. And then just change up the height of this, or range 100. And then you could see more of what's going on and how it looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and delete that. We don't want that. We'll just raise up this intensity. Okay, so now since we got that, we're going to add in our road. So select your train, go over to edit, add texture, select, and as you can guess, we're going to grab dirt. I think that a darker dirt should be used for this. Let's do that one. Select our normal, and we're going to choose this one. I'm just guessing these out too. I don't even know which one would be the best one for this, but okay, we're going to hit add, select our dirt, and we're going to change the size to like 25, and put our opacity at about 5. And remember, we're just going to go right back over that anyway, if it's too much at all. Okay, let's go ahead and drag this all the way out to the village center. And we're going to give the village like a big old areas. Go to keep it on a small brush for now and just raise up the size. Okay. So now we have the village center set up. Let's go ahead and grab our main camera, rotate on the Y. Okay. I think we need to add more grass, but besides that, so let's go to train, select our grass, go like add in some of that. Right. So now since we added in some grass, let's go ahead and add in like a little bit of this texture too. Yeah, that looks alright. Maybe add in a little bit of that too. Okay, so now since we got our setting or our train set up, we're going to go ahead and add in some buildings. Now I got this Polygon Adventure set. It was a really cool thing that I got off the asset store. It cost me about 10 bucks or so, but you know, it's all good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and drag this inside here. Just, you know, however buildings you want. Let's see. Yep, we don't want that. And then you just got to decide where you want to put these things. So, add a well there. Maybe put that on that side of the building. Okay, so here you're going to be using the W, E, and R key just to figure out where you want these buildings to be, how you want them set up. So let me see. Okay, that's one without any, so we're going to go and drag that to the side like so. Let's go ahead and drag the well to the center. Oh, no well is straight. We got to rotate that sucker. And we also got to scale it down. Control D. And I accidentally activated this sucker. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and scale this down. go ahead and put it back on the ground. That one looks good where it is. We'll move this here, rotate it like so. Actually, we got to rotate it further. Almost. Oh, no, we don't want to rotate like that. Okay. There we go. Okay. Go ahead and drag this right here, right here. There we go. And we'll just go and copy that. Like I said, it's just all about your personal style, your personal reference and all. One more of these, I think. Okay, perfect. So now since we got our little village set up, we're going to go ahead and take a look through our camera lens. So we're going to go ahead and go to game and check our main camera. Rotate around. Ooh, nice little village. Perfect. Now what we need to do is come over here to our scene, go ahead and give our camera a point of view. I think we'll go right about here. We're going to select main camera, game object aligned with view. I think it needs to be scooted in a little bit more. And you want to keep it visually pleasing on all sides, but since this is a tutorial and it's starting to run a little bit long, we're going to need to make sure that we do close off pretty soon. Okay. No. There we go. Now we're going to select our barrier. We're going to simply change all the info. We're going to just change this to a mesh render. We still want to keep the colliders up, but that'll be for when you actually create it for the game. Perfect. And now we need to go over here to the directional light. We're going to drag this up. Go and rotate it to whichever thing we need it. So I think we need it to face a little bit that way. Then we're going to Control D the directional light. Oh, right there. Go and give it a 1 intensity. Now we'll give it a 0.2 intensity. And we want to give it on the opposite side to give the other side a chance of shadows. Okay. Shades of this axis. There we go. That way we could see. Select our main directional. Go and rotate it a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so lastly, we're going to readjust our terrain to fit around this area. So let's go ahead and just do that. All right. Now we'll go ahead and press play. And there we go, guys. All within a day's work. Alright, if you guys like this tutorial, please like it, subscribe, check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.